me or referred to me by friends and other personalities. There are situations that national and local elected politicians would request me to source projects for them. If given more time and opportunity to review the records and confirm supporting facts, I may be able to particularize the details of these transactions and dealings. Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. I have a close and friendly relationship with Senator Ramon Bong Revilla, and we go all the way back since the time of Amay Bisaya and Mayor Viseo, who first introduced me to the former legislator while I was still a district engineer in Laguna sometime in 2005 or 2006. We frequently meet in important social gatherings. Senator Revilla later on became a godparent of two of my daughters, while I became a godparent to one of his children. When Senator Revilla was incarcerated, I visited him several times at the PNP Custodial Center at Camp Crame. Because of our close relationship, Senator Revilla had asked me for assistance on several matters which I can no longer exactly recall at the moment because this happened a long time ago, and I presently don't have records to help me reconstruct the events. Sometime in the third quarter of 2024, Senator Revilla and I met where he asked me for a list of projects for funding, ostensibly to help him in his national campaign. When Senator Revilla asked me about the percentage of the commitment, I suggested either 20 or 25, to which Senator Revilla said 25%. Soon thereafter, also in the third quarter of 2024, I asked then District Engineer Henry Alcantara to prepare a list of projects, which he subsequently gave to me. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex A. Moreover, still in the third quarter of 2024, I also asked then District Engineer, but later Regional Director for NCR, Engineer Gerard Opalencia, to prepare a list of projects, which he subsequently gave to me. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex B. I had the list of projects totaling 1.5 billion submitted by Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard, consolidated in one sheet of paper, and gave the same to Senator Revilla in the third quarter of 2024. With respect to the projects under the NEP and HGAB, I followed this up with Secretary Manny Bonoan upon request of Senator Revilla, who would also follow this up with Yusek Cathy Cabral. The White House compound is the ancestral home of the Revillas with the large Blue Gate entrance at the time. Sometime in the last quarter of 2024, Engineer Alcantara collected the 25% commitment of about 125 million and informed me that the same was ready for turnover through Engineer Gerard Opalencia. Engineer Gerard Opalencia told me that the 25% commitment was already loaded in my vehicle. After receipt of the 25% commitment, which were packed in 6 cardboard boxes, each containing at least 20 million, and 1 paper bag containing 5 million, I called up Senator Revilla to inform him the same is ready to be turned over to him. Sometime December 2024, probably the Monday after my receipt of the commitment, my driver and I went to the residence of Senator Revilla. Upon reaching the area, I tried calling Senator Revilla, but he was not answering my call, so I waited. After waiting for approximately 1 hour at a nearby gasoline station, we were finally allowed inside the compound by the guard. Once inside, we parked the vehicle, and shortly upon alighting, I saw Senator Revilla at the terrace. I walked over to Senator Revilla for a casual talk. While the boxes were being unloaded, Senator Revilla and I talked for about 20 to 25 minutes. I asked him, "Sen, bakit hindi ka nangangampanya?" Senator Bong replied, "Okay naman pare, maganda results ng survey. Relax muna." The personnel of Senator Revilla helped in unloading the boxes. After the delivery of the commitment, I headed back to Manila. Sometime late January or February 2025, in relation to a list of projects submitted by Engineer Gerard Opalencia, Senator Revilla called me to follow up on the status of the commitment. About a week later, sometime February 2025, I informed Senator Revilla that the same was ready for turnover. Before the start of the campaign period for national elective positions, I directed one of my aides to deliver commitment amounting to 250 million to the residence of Senator Revilla at the White House compound, Aguinaldo Highway, Bacoor, Cavite. Senator Nancy Binay. Carlin Yap Villa is the aide of Senator Nancy Binay, who transacted with me regarding the latter's projects and commitment. If I recall correctly, I first met Carlin in the year 2018 during the budget season at the Senate. Eventually, sometime 2019, Yusek Traigip Olivar, whom I knew very well, endorsed Carlin to me. From then on, Carlin would contact me directly to follow up the status of different matters. Sometime fourth quarter in 2022, Carlin, claiming to act on behalf of Senator Binay, asked my help for the transfer of an assistant district engineer in Mindanao to another district, a request which I endorsed to Sec. Bunoan. Sometime during the third to fourth quarter of 2022, Carlin requested on behalf of Senator Binay for a list of projects worth around 1.882 billion with 12% commitment. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex C. I got 3% of 1.882 billion. I prepared a list of projects within my area of jurisdiction with the help of DPW's officials, but could not recall at this time exactly who among them gave me the list. But I can recall that it was Engineer Manny Bulusan who coordinated the collection of the commitment. Eventually, during the first quarter of 2023, the commitment was delivered to Carlin for Senator Binay in several tranches in Makati and Quezon City. But I could not recall at this time the details of the deliveries, but I undertake to submit additional information thereon. Sometime last quarter of 2023, Carlin again asked for Senator Binay a list of projects for inclusion and funding under the 2024 GAA, which I provided with the help of Engineer Gerard Apulescia and Engineer Henry Alcantara. The total list of projects initially amounted to 2.5 billion, but which was reduced to 1.672 billion. The said projects are enumerated in the list here to attach as Annex D. Apparently, some individual or group offered Senator Binay a higher amount of commitment of 15% instead of the previous 12%, with the promise that the commitment would be released much earlier. Yusek Trigib learned about the plan to transact with this individual or group, and I was informed by Yusek Trigib that he confronted Carlin and said to her, "Bakit nyo binabawasan ng kay Robert? Siya din naman ang nilalapitan ng mga yan pagka nagkakaproblema." However, sometime later part of December 2023, Carlin called me and requested for a 50 million advance for Senator Binay's use for the holiday season because the individual or group was unable to deliver on their promise, and which I then helped to fix. Thereafter, Carlin told me that Senator Binay was expecting an increase in the commitment from 12 to 15%, which I agreed to fulfill. I did not get any percentages from the aforementioned projects worth 1.672 billion, but I was reimbursed the 50 million which I earlier advanced. I was nurturing goodwill with Senator Binay by fulfilling the commitment. Sometime 2024, Carlin requested me to relay to Sec. Bunoan Senator Binay's request for some allocation under the NEP, which I did. Sec. Bunoan allocated 500 million for Senator Binay under the NEP for 2025, which I relayed to Carlin. Carlin told me to prepare a list of projects for the 500 million allocation. I then asked a list of projects from Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard worth 500 million, which I then submitted in person with Sec. Bunoan, who then told me he will instruct Yusek Cabral to include the same in the NEP. The list of projects was included in the NEP for 2025. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex E. Likewise, sometime in the last quarter of 2024, Carlin for Senator Binay asked for a list of projects to be included in the 2025 GAA. I then directed Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard Apulescia to prepare a consolidated list of projects. I submitted a list of projects totaling 3 billion to Carlin, but only approximately 2.6 billion was included. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex F. After these projects appeared in the GAA, Engineer Bulusan, Engineer Apulescia, and myself collected, raised, and prepared the 15% commitment, which was all turned over to me. There were difficulties in collecting the commitment as there were contractors, congressmen who did not give amount considering the issue of for later release projects totaling approximately 80 million more or less, which I had to advance. Despite this total commitment collected and raised for Senator Binay was 15% of 1.2 billion or around 468 million more or less. I earlier mentioned that the 37 million more or less was delivered at Horseshoe Village, Quezon City, which refers to the amount collected by Engineer Henry Alcantara. But upon full recollection, there were two deliveries. The first delivery amounted to 340 million at a house in Horseshoe Village, Quezon City, and the second delivery amounted to at least 200 million at another house, but also in Horseshoe Village, Quezon City. After the second delivery, Carlin told me, "Kinuha na ni Sir, salamat raw. Hindi ka raw kakalimutan sa Makati." The Sir refers to the husband of Senator Binay. I did not get any percentage from the projects worth 3 billion 120 million for NEP and GAA for Senator Binay. Senator Chis Escudero and Maynard Ngu. I met Maynard Ngu at the Manila City Hall during the term of Mayor Erap, and while I was the city engineer of Manila sometime in 2013. Maynard Ngu is a familiar figure in the social political circles, as he would be handling substantial donations to politicians during election season, including the distribution of mobile phones. During the 2022 national elections, Maynard Ngu approached me and asked for help in raising campaign funds. I and other DPWH officials assisted Maynard Ngu in raising campaign funds. These frequent interactions with Maynard Ngu at the court helped me in building our mutual trust with each other, especially in favor of Senator Escudero, whose interest Maynard Ngu was actively promoting. Maynard Ngu was appointed Special Envoy to China for Trade, Investments, and Tourism in 2023. When Senator Chis Escudero became Senate President in 2024, Maynard Ngu approached me and asked for a list of projects for Senator Chis Escudero. Thereafter, sometime November 2024, I asked Engineer Opulencia to prepare a list of projects for Senator Chis Escudero following my conversation with Maynard Ngu. Thereafter, Engineer Opulencia submitted to me a list of projects for funding. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex G. For the projects located in Valenzuela, Engineer Opulencia, through District Engineer Ruel Umali, collected the money for the commitment for Senator Chis Escudero. He delivered the commitment at Diamond Hotel. We saw each other at the Diamond Hotel, and Engineer Opulencia told me, nasa inyo na po, boss. When I asked my driver to confirm, the driver told me, nasa akin na po, okay na po. For the projects located in Marinduque, Engineer Opulencia, through Regional Director Ryan Altea, collected the commitment for Senator Chis Escudero. He delivered to me the commitment at Diamond Hotel. Engineer Opulencia called me and said, may papadala ako sa inyo ngayon. Sa iyo ngayon, dadali na lang po sa Diamond. Later, the driver told me, nasa akin na po, okay na po. Following a deeper recollection of the facts and checking with public records, I can now confirm that in addition to the Valenzuela and Marinduque projects, Engineer Opulencia also provided the list of projects for Oriental Mindoro and Quezon City. The complete list of projects for Senator Chis Escudero is worth 1.4 billion with 20% commitment. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex H. Sometime early 2025, I made the first delivery of 160 million for Senator Chis Escudero at the Cherry Mobile Building at Maynard Ngu in Apacible Street, Manila. Thereafter, early 2025, I made the second delivery of 120 million for Senator Chis Escudero, also at the Cherry Mobile Building of Maynard Ngu. Senator Jinggoy Estrada. I have known Senator Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada since I met Senator Jinggoy Estrada through the social circles of Senator Bong Revilla. We usually had encounters during social gatherings of people in the movie industry. We developed a close relationship. Sometime in 2010, when I was Assistant Regional Director of DPW's Region 4A, Senator Jinggoy was backing me to become a Regional Director. When I failed to become a Regional Director, I applied for the position of City Engineer, and Senator Jinggoy was one of those who recommended me. When he was incarcerated, I would visit him, but sometimes together with then City Mayor Joseph Erap Estrada. Sometime in 2023, Senator Jinggoy requested Secretary Bonoan through me for projects worth 500 million. Secretary Bonoan agreed to give 450 million for the DPW's NCR building, which Yuse Cabral included in the NEP for 2024, with an 18% commitment for Senator Jinggoy. Senator Jinggoy called me sometime in the third quarter of 2024 and asked me to request the amount of 1 billion from Sec Bonoan. Senator Jinggoy said, tulungan mo na lang ako dyan kasi marami pa akong tutulungan sa eleksyon. I replied, okay na ba ang 25% Sen? Sen Jinggoy responded, okay na ang 25%. I relayed to Sec Bonoan the request of Sen Jinggoy. The former then asked me to prepare a list of projects for the latter. In turn, I asked Engineer Gerard Opulencia for a list of projects. When Engineer Opulencia gave me the list, I gave it to Secretary Bonoan, who told me that he will give the same to Yuse Cabral and that the latter will take care of it. At the moment, I cannot locate the list or a copy thereof. Later on, I saw that some of these projects totaling 500 million and included in the list I gave to Sec Bonoan were listed in the NEP for that year. These projects, as appearing in the NEP, are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex I hereof. Thereafter, Senator Jinggoy called me and asked me what happened to the difference of 500 million. I relayed this to Sec Bonoan. The latter replied that he will prioritize the matter as soon as there is available funding. Subsequently, I found out that the projects totaling 200 million were included in the SGAB for 2025. These projects as appearing in the SGAB are listed Annex J hereof. However, Senator Jinggoy called me again for the difference of 300 million to complete the 1 billion project value that was requested. During the BICAM, projects worth 750 million were again included in the projects to eventually form part of the 2025 GAA. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex K. The total budget for the projects which appeared in the 2025 GAA is approximately 1.45 billion, more or less. After Engineer Opulencia collected the 25% commitment, approximately 360 million, and delivered the same to Diamond Hotel in Manila. Thereafter, I tasked my driver to deliver the boxes to Sen Jinggoy at the Artiaga building in San Juan City. Senator Jinggoy personally confirmed to me his receipt of the commitment and thanked me for the same. During the 2024 budget hearing for 2025 GAA, Engineer Alcantara informed me that Senator Jinggoy gave him funding amounting to 355 million for Bulacan First DEO and 500 million from other districts in Bulacan and requested that he, Engineer Alcantara, prepare lists of projects. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as annexes L and L-1 respectively. Later on, sometime in the first quarter of 2025, Senator Jinggoy asked me to get the 25% commitment for the aforesaid list of projects from Engineer Alcantara. Engineer Alcantara then delivered to me the 25% commitment, approximately 213 million, which I delivered to Senator Jinggoy at the Artiaga building in San Juan City. Senator Grace Poe. Sometime third quarter of 2024, J.Y. De La Rosa, a staff of Senator Grace Poe, requested Sec Bunoan, through me, if Senator Grace Poe can be accommodated in the DPW's NEP. Sec Bunoan told me there is a 500 million for Senator Grace Poe and instructed me to ask the Senator for a list of projects. J.Y. De La Rosa told me to coordinate the matter with Mrs. Patron, a contractor. Mrs. Patron told me to prepare the list. Upon my instructions, Engineer Gerard Opulencia submitted a consolidated list of the following projects, 1 in Laguna and 3 in NCR. These projects are indicated in the list here to attach as Annex M. Thereafter, the list of projects was included in the NEP by Sec Bunoan through Yusek Kati Cabral. Later on, the said projects appeared in the GAA for 2025. There was a 20% commitment collected for Senator Grace Poe. Mrs. Patron, a contractor, collected the commitment for Sen Grace Poe at Diamond Hotel from one of my aides. Congresswoman Mary Mitzi Mitz Kahayon Uy. There were projects released in Congresswoman Kahayon Uy's congressional district, which I facilitated. I submitted projects being proposed by her to proponents for funding, the details of which I am still verifying and confirming at the moment. Congressman Flerida Robes. There were also projects released in Congresswoman Flerida Robes' congressional district, which I facilitated. I submitted projects being proposed by her to proponents for funding, the details of which I'm still verifying and confirming at the moment. Congressman Zaldico. In addition to my statements in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, I was told by Engineer Alcantara, Congressman Zaldi would from time to time deal also with Engineers Gerard Pacanan, Gerard Opulencia, and Danny Villa. There were times Engineer Gerard Pacanan and Gerard Opulencia would give me certain amounts, supposedly from Congressman Zaldico. Yusek Traigib Olevar updated. In addition to my statements in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, I wish to add that I have known Yusek Traigib as early as 2010 when he was still a staff of Senator Bong Revilla. He is a common figure in budget deliberation hearings and by reason of which I had interacted with him on multiple occasions. Yusek Traigib then worked under the office of Senator Edgardo Angara and then later worked under the office of Senator Sani Angara. When Senator Sani Angara became a chairman of Finance, Yusek Traigib and I would have several interactions as part of our work in budget preparations. When Senator Revilla was incarcerated with Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Yusek Traigib and I would frequently call each other so we can help look after the welfare of concerns of Senator Revilla, whom I visited several times with Senator Jinggoy Estrada while they were in detention. Aside from the details I had earlier mentioned in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, Yusek Traigib and I also had transactions concerning Senator Angara between 2019 and 2024, where Yusek Traigib received deliveries representing 12% of the projects of Senator Sani Angara, while the latter was chairman of Finance. As I previously mentioned in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, Yusek Olivar and I discussed the program appropriations supposedly for the Office of the Executive Secretary. Thereafter, DPWH received a special allotment release order, which included projects worth 2.85 billion. The contract IDs for the projects worth 2.85 billion covered by the said SARO can be secured from the records of DPWH Regional Office for Region 3 and the 1st District Engineering Office of Bulacan. Moreover, in the program allocation for 2025, there could have been an additional 12 billion more or less funding, which I am verifying and confirming at the moment. DPWH Secretary Mark Villar and Yusek Cabral. I was appointed Assistant Secretary of DPWH by former President Rodrigo Duterte in 2016 during the term of DPWH Secretary Mark Villar. As Assistant Secretary for Operations, I was assigned over the Visayas regions. While I was Assistant Secretary for Operations,